Yes, I know this isn't technically Iron Factory's first Fembot release and I should have gone with that one, but I don't have both versions of the mold here yet, even though I've already ordered them, so I might cover Windblade at a later date. For now, though, let's get started. Wait, that was a really weird intro. Let's actually get started for real now. Iron Factory is incredibly good at their repaint factor. They make repaints on certain figures, but they do a really good job at it. It never feels cheap, it feels justified, and what they do works really well. A few examples are, of course, the Seekers, which is totally cool, but also the Lambros are getting in on the action recently as well. I mean, aside from the regular ones, you've got Red Alert and G2 Sideswipe and Run Amok and Runabouts! Jesus Christ, how do they do that? But one of their also heavily repainted figures is the Fembot mold. Is it justifiably repainted? Let's take a look. Now you just wait a minute, what is this white piece of cardboard doing in the middle of the shot? Well, I don't want a repeat of the Tailgate review where I couldn't stand up the figure and I had to use a Snowpiercer DVD. Yes, I don't want that to happen again. It's not that these can't stand up on a hard surface, as I'll show here, it's just that the light box is very soft and pliable, and I don't want it to be a bit of an issue. That highlights a bit of an issue with the vehicle modes, though. They do tend to flop back. Ooh, that works fine. That does not. That does not. That one, nope. These all like to fold back, except for this one, because it's got a decent center of balance thanks to the gun. Anyway, fun fact, Arcee was not the first... Oh, there we go. Fun fact, Arcee was not the first use of this mold, it was actually Elita One. Elita One predates the Arcee mold by about a month or two because she was packaged with the Ultimate Commander, aka Optimus Prime. The thing is that Optimus Prime was only a first run thing, and other runs of Optimus Prime did not come with Elita One, meaning that you were paying essentially $70 to $100 just for one Legends figure. That's the same case with this. Apparently it's a first run deal to get Combiner Hunter Arcee with Iron Factory's Onslaught, but we haven't gotten a second run of Onslaught yet, so I'm not sure what's going to happen, but likely they'll keep the price exactly the same. So unless you get the first runs, you're not getting the full value of those figures. But again, they are just repaints. Very good repaints, but still repaints nonetheless. Starting off with Elita One, I think she may actually be the best of the four, simply because of how she uses her alt mode mass. Now you look at these three, they are pretty piss poor alt modes because of the feats. Now credit where credit is due, these are very small figures, and what they're trying to do in robot mode, and for such a design, is admirable. I mean, have you taken a look at DX9's attempt? Yuck. Not good at all. So at least these are doing a decent attempt in robot mode, and the vehicle mode, it's passable, it's a bit of a throwaway. But Elita One turns it into a tank thanks to the gun, so this top part here at least looks like a turret, and it works incredibly well. That's one of the reasons why I prefer Elita One over the others, because of the vehicle mode mass. The other, these colours are just gorgeous. The transparent orange, the gunmetal paint all over the weapons as well. Yeah, they kind of reuse the gunmetal paint on the windows, and I've constantly complained about that on several other figures, but here it doesn't look too bad. I don't know what they're doing, but it doesn't look too bad. Taking a look at Arcee, this is the regular one. Looks a bit off, actually. I don't know why. The white that they use is a pearl-type colour. It doesn't look that great. Also, the weapons are kind of just stored back there. They're stored probably the most compactly out of the bunch. And I get what they're going for again, but, you know, it's compact, but it's not very good, you know. It only gets worse from here, though. Nightbird has some absolutely gorgeous colours, but you take a look at the weapon storage, and it's just a joke. You've got the stars over here, what are supposedly scythes, according to Death Reviews over here. The only good way seems to be to use the ninja blades, or whatever they're called. I'm sure some weapons nerds will correct me in the comments section.
They're called scythes.
But they ruin the rolling action. The sword sticking out here, this weapon storage is shameless. And the weapons aren't that good anyway, it's just a bunch of plastic crap with no paint on it. Yeah, you probably won't be getting this one because it's convention exclusive, but, you know, it's still a bit disappointing. Oh, it's standing up perfectly now. Wow. Was that... No? Oh, no, that one fell over as well. This has got to be the worst weapon storage, though. This is just completely ridiculous. You do get the same swords that you do on Arcee, but... this big thing here. It looks nice, it's nicely painted, but the weapon storage is fucking garbage. Christ, this is bad. Jesus. So yeah, the alt modes are kind of a throwaway, except for Elita One by default here. Just will you stand up, please? Stand up! Never mind. But of course, they are Legends figures. You have to make certain concessions, especially at this size. I am well aware I've used that statement way too often in this marathon, but it's constantly true, except for a few cases here and there. And just to get a sense of how small they are, here they are next to an average Micromaster. They are tiny. I'm just going to get these out of the way, and I'm going to show Elita One to transform it, simply because she's my favourite. Transformation's quite simple. You get these off. Unfortunately, you have to have the center weapon actually in there to transform it properly, because that's what locks the legs in. The feet are pegged in there, you unpeg them like so. Then you can undo the gun from the back side, leave that off to the side, and you've got the legs already set up here. From here, the arms, you unpeg the arms like so, bring back these kibble parts, take this backpack section, unpeg it there and just bring it down a bit, and you've pretty much got your robot mode. You just have to stand her up. And yeah, that is some pretty outrageous kibble. I mean, even by Iron Factory standards, even by RC standards, because making an RC design is pretty bad. But ignoring the kibble, she's actually quite adorable. One thing that's a bit disappointing is that these pegs could have stored these on the back here, but they don't really. They don't store there at all. It's rather disappointing. So I guess you can store one of these on the back side if you want, but eh. So you just kind of have to leave these off to the side. It's kind of disappointing. Anyway, let's get the others transformed, and then I'll get right back to you. Okay, so robot mode, robot mode, robot mode, robot mode. In spite of the kibble issues, and trust me, there are some kibble issues, these are all bloody adorable figures. See, what Iron Factory did to combat the fragility issues that several fembots would have, is give them chibi proportions, but not so much that they don't end up matching with the other figures from the line. They still match up with the other figures from the line, because they're not that out there. Of course, now Iron Factory is doing their own chibi Gajinka thing on the side, whoop-de-doo, but, you know, what they've been doing here is still quite admirable. And by God, these are adorable. I'd say the most adorable would have to be Elita One, not just because I got her first, but Jesus, that head sculpt. She's also got the best colours out of the group. You've got some lovely breakup of the dark pink, the hot pink, and then the light pinks and the silvers. And I really like the orange translucent weapons. They just work incredibly well. I really could have used some paint on the gun, but, you know, credit where credit's due, they did paint some of the other weapons. Also, on a quick side note, all of the weapons are 3mm compatible, so that any Cyberverse figure can use them. These are the other weapons she comes with. She comes with two little axes that have some lovely gunmetal paint on them. It works quite well. Arcee is supposed to be the main version of this figure, but I'm just not feeling it. The pearl white is just off. If they'd used a more stark white, it probably would have worked better. Also, at this point, I should probably show the kibble. Yeah, that is some pretty bad kibble, but for a tiny Legion Legends figure, I mean, these guys are really tiny. It isn't too bad. There's not really that much paint breakup. I like that they've done the shoulders here, and you can see that there's some heavy retooling on all of them. For example, this one has a different chest to all of them. The shoulders are completely different on all of them. It's admirable, but I just can't get into it. I like the blue weapons, and I like that they've got some silver paint on it. I don't know. I just can't expect it better from an Arcee. Also, the other weapon she comes with is a tiny little pistol, which isn't painted, but it is required to transform into vehicle mode, so you kind of have to have it. I am very happy that they made a Nightbird. Sure, the weapons may be a little lackluster, but they made a Legends Nightbird. Granted, it was from a Chinese convention, and it's long sold out across most websites. I haven't even found a single listing on eBay, so this is a rarity, and if you're seeing this, you probably won't be able to buy it at this point. But she is one fantastic figure. Not as good as Elita One, but geez, this silver does wonders. They've got the same shoulder pads as Arcee, but they've retooled the chest. I think it's the same waist, but overall it is a fantastic design. I actually prefer the retooling they've done here when compared to the official Legends version, the Takara Legends, which isn't actually Legends scale. Damn it, Takara, stop reusing names. Of course, you've got the scythes that she uses here, but she also comes with another bunch of weapons, and I'm not too fond of them. You, of course, get the sword that locks everything in place. There's some nice detail, but it gets lost in this yellow transparent plastic. And then you've got these tiny ninja stars, and they kind of clip on over the top. They're just not that great. You get 2 of them, but they're just not that great. Combiner Hunter Arcee looks pretty good. I like that they've tried to replicate the battle paint on her face with that tiny little pink splotch. Do be careful though, that is intentional. I've had a friend accidentally paint over it, thinking that it was a paint defect. It's not a paint defect. It is completely intentional. But the problem is that the mold is starting to break down. The legs pop off very, very easily on my copy. The plastic is getting a bit chalky. I like what they've done with the weapon here, but you can tell the weapon feels way more solid than the rest of the figure. Also, it doesn't really come with that many weapons. I mean, you do get the swords, but then you get this huge sword. Yeah, it's cool, but I still think that Elita's weapons are the coolest. Now, articulation is pretty good for the size, actually. I wasn't expecting this much. You've got a head ball joint, ball jointed shoulders, ball jointed elbows. You've actually got a wee bit of a torso ball joint. Doesn't really work thanks to the kibble, but it gets some decent poses, I guess. Ball joints here, thigh swivel, double jointed knee, and a ball jointed foot. That is a lot of articulation for a tiny figure. And most places are selling this for, again, 20 bucks. For what you get, for the articulation, for the accessories, it is a pretty good deal. Although I have to emphasize that these are rather small. I mean, take a look next to a Micromaster. That is pretty tiny. These are Legion Legends sized, maybe a tad bigger. So that might be a bit steep for some people in terms of prices, but for me, it is right up my alley, and I'm very glad I got these. The final score for these are a solid 3 out of 10. Simply because the alt mode isn't that great, but the robot mode is oh so adorable. I bump up Elita One to a 4, simply because it looks like a tank, but in the end, it's still a solid figure you should have in your collection, which I wish I could say for DX9's whatever her name is. That DX9 figure is such a failure at what the Legends class is supposed to be, whereas this one shows exactly what it is. Fun. That's what Legends collectors want. They want fun toys, and so many companies are giving that to us. Unfortunately, tomorrow's release proves why DX9 is not very fun, at least in their earlier releases. At least I think so. This is the only other DX9 figure I have, so quota fulfilled.